Picture this. It's somewhere between midnight and 3 a.m., 40,000 years ago. A human encampment, maybe 15 people, maybe 20, fire burning low, the smell of rotting bone and discarded marrow hanging in the cold air. And at the edge of the light, where orange fades into absolute dark, something is watching, not hunting, just waiting. Pause 3 seconds. Look directly into camera, that animal at the edge of the firelight that is not a wolf becoming a dog. That is the moment a specific subset of wolves made a decision that would rewrite their biology for the next 15,000 years. And here's what nobody tells you. Humans had almost nothing to do with it. But before I get there, watch your own dog for a second. Does yours stop mid-walk, mid-task, mid-anything, and just look at your face? Checks you, then continues. You probably thought that was affection or training. It's not. We'll come back to that. The version you've heard goes like this. Ancient humans, recognizing the utility of wolves, began capturing, selecting, and breeding them over generations. Intentional domestication, controlled, purposeful. It's in every nature documentary, every middle school textbook. The problem is the timeline doesn't hold. Intentional selective breeding, the kind that produces consistent trait changes across generations, requires agricultural-level social organization, record-keeping, multi-generational planning. The earliest domestication evidence predates that kind of human social complexity by thousands of years. So if humans weren't running a deliberate breeding program, what actually happened? Dr. Brian Hare's research at Duke University's Canine Cognition Center points to something far less flattering to our species: self-domestication. The wolves that survived weren't the ones humans chose. They were the ones who weren't afraid enough to stay away. Bold, low-fear individuals. The ones who could tolerate the smell of humans, the sound of a camp, the proximity of fire. Those wolves had access to a resource that Shire wolves didn't: our garbage. Discarded bone. Leftover carcass. A reliable, low-effort caloric source that didn't fight back. So we chose them, actually. Wait. Self-correct? Pause. We didn't choose anything. We were a food source that didn't run. They made the first move. Fear was the selection pressure, not human intention. And once that process started, it accelerated in ways the fossil record makes measurable. Ancient DNA studies published in Nature place the domestication divergence somewhere between 15 and 40,000 years ago, but genomic changes spiked after the agricultural revolution, when human settlements became permanent and waste sites became consistent. Over 300 genomic regions show domestication-linked selection signatures: skull shape shortened, teeth crowded, ear cartilage softened, which is why wolves have rigid, upright ears and dogs frequently don't. Reproductive cycles shifted from annual to biannual estrus. This wasn't a slow drift. It was accelerated biological rewriting at a scale that should genuinely unsettle you. And then something strange happened cognitively. Dogs developed an ability that wolves raised by humans, hand-raised, from birth, socialized daily, still don't have. When a human points at something, a dog follows that gesture to find a hidden object. Wolves fail this test. Chimpanzees, our closest evolutionary relatives, largely fail it too. This wasn't trained, it wasn't conditioned. It emerged from the domestication process itself as a selected cognitive trait, because the wolves who could read human communicative gestures survived better in human environments. So that ability got baked in. The microbehavior tell your dog stops what it's doing to check your face before continuing. That isn't a habit. That's the cognitive architecture of 15,000 years of selection playing out in real time. Structurally, the dog brain is measurably different from the wolf brain, roughly 30% smaller in total volume. But the reductions aren't random. They're concentrated in regions governing fear response and territorial aggression. A 2019 study in the Journal of Experimental Zoology mapped these reductions specifically. The behavioral science community tends to describe this carefully. I'll be more direct: domestication traded raw survival processing for social attunement bandwidth. The dog brain isn't a dumbed-down wolf brain. It's a reorganized one, optimized for an entirely different operating environment. That environment is you. Which brings me to the myth I want to dismantle because it's actively causing problems in training communities right now. To understand dogs, study wolf pack behavior. Hold up a dominance training book. Set it face down. David Meck, the researcher who popularized the alpha wolf model, has spent decades trying to retract it. Wolves in wild populations don't operate through dominance hierarchies the way the captive population studies suggested, and dogs aren't wolves. They diverged so significantly that wolf pack research predicts dog behavior about as well as chimpanzee research predicts human behavior, which is to say, partially, occasionally, and dangerously oversimplified. There's a deeper layer here that most content doesn't touch. Across multiple domesticated species, dogs, cattle, pigs, foxes, a cluster of traits appears together: reduced fear response, increased sociability, altered pigmentation, floppy ears, shortened faces, extended juvenile play behavior into adulthood. Dr. Adam Wilkins' 2014 paper in Genetics proposed these traits aren't independently selected. They're linked through a shared developmental pathway, specifically neural crest cell migration during embryonic development. Domestication didn't select these traits one by one. It disrupted one developmental process, and the entire cluster came along. The hormonal profile changed too. I could walk you through the full hypothalamic pituitary adrenal cascade here, but simply, dogs show lower baseline cortisol and measurably reduced adrenal gland mass compared to wolves. The stress response was biologically turned down. Your arguments, your moods, your chaotic Tuesday evening, they were built to absorb a version of that without constant fight or flight override. That tolerance has limits, but it was selected for. So what does this history actually demand from you practically? Look deadpan into camera. 3 things. Consistency over intensity. Dogs were selected to read predictable human behavioral patterns. Erratic communication doesn't confuse you, dog. It stresses them at a neurological level. Anxious dogs are frequently the product of well-meaning, inconsistent owners. Social input is not enrichment. It is the operating environment. Isolation isn't boredom. It is deprivation of the condition the animal was literally built to require. And understand your breed's selected function before you pathologize behavior. A husky destroying your apartment isn't defiant. It's running 10,000-year-old endurance software in 900 square feet. A border collie herding children at a birthday party isn't misbehaving. It has no sheep, so it improvised. Pull up a breed origin map on phone before you correct the behavior. Understand what it was built for. Now, that dog who keeps checking your face, that behavior, human-directed social gaze, is one of the most studied domestication markers in comparative cognition research. It is not a trained response. It is not affection exactly. It is a cognitive trait that emerged through selection, because the ancestors of your dog who read human facial expressions for behavioral cues survived better than the ones who didn't. Over 15,000 years of selection pressure, your face became the most important data source in their world. They didn't learn to read you, they were built to. Here's what I want you to do today. Next time you have an argument, not with your dog, just near them, watch their face. Watch what their expression does, what their body does. Don't intervene, just observe. Then come back and tell me what you saw in the comments. Because what they do in that moment is exactly what this entire video has been about.